Dedicated.
I've just made her.
You just get to enjoy the voices I do now.
Absolutely, darling.
Dedicated to Mum and Grandma
I love
for
that.
putting the fear of death into me about eating undercooked food. Chapter 1, Merry Part. It was a misty morning as the fresh chill of impending dawn lit the soft grey sky over the broad silver river. The muted orange leaves didn't even twitch, holding on to their glittering dewdrops like frozen gemstones. They were only woken when the breeze rose with the sun. No fish, creature, or bird moved an inch in this lifelike painting of North Grothenut. The only movement came from the silver ice head as it streamed up the river. The comforting morning silence was disturbed only by the gentle splitting of the water by the mighty grey vessel as it cut through the river like scissors gliding through satin. Wolflock slept soundly, his ink-stained hand drooping out from his bunk and into the kiss of the chilly morning air. It had been 3 days since he had been tricked into working for the captain, but as the work itself was merely writing letters for the crew, he didn't protest beyond being a little bit too familiar and sarcastic with Captain Blutro. Wolflock suspected the captain knew he possessed significant linguistic skills, which allowed him to be safe from any hard labour. The crew were excited to utilise his skills when he told them that he knew how to speak, read and write in 5 languages. He was fluent in his native tongue of North Grothian, also known as Nordlicherwald, South Grothian's language, Planisud, Dorain from East Grothian, and the Corlesian merchant's tongue, and Puantelian, the common language that everyone was taught. The crew were particularly excited, as many of them could not read or write in foreign languages, only speak them. This gave them the chance to communicate with many of the friends they'd made over the years. Wolflock had, so far, written for Grogan, who had 20 letters to write to all kinds of friends he'd made. Grogan said he tried to send them on a quarterly basis and didn't mind at all that so few people wrote back. "It's hard to catch a moving ship," he chuckled as Wolflock scribbled away for him. Hognut had only wanted to send a simple small note to the man who made his pipe, telling him that it was still in good shape and that he wouldn't need another yet. He wrote for Godin, who told his brother of daring battles with giant fish and the savage Maramuti attack. Giggle had asked him to send letters to 2 ladies telling them that he'd fallen in love and could no longer pursue them, but he still wished them the utmost happiness, adding that should they ever need transport up and down the river, he'd be there to aid them. He had to write Giggle's letters 3 times because he couldn't decide on the right saccharine words to pour over his past beloveds to ease their pain of losing him. Wolflock also wrote for himself to Mina again. Since he was not yet able to send the letters and she was unable to reply, she couldn't give him an indication of whether he should write to his father as well. Not wanting any of the company to know he had been fooled into indentured employment, he let them think he was doing this from the kindness of his heart. Ever since he'd apologised to those he'd offended, the crew and company had been rather friendly toward him. His current charitable acts only heightened their fondness. Wolflock had informed Mothi the day before that acts of altruism often brought this degree of fondness and that it could be used to their advantage, to which Mothi had laughed at him. But what Wolflock had said held substance. The crew and passengers had permitted all kinds of mischief to take place, and Wolflock was thrilled. Without many books to read and only a limited number of games to play, the passengers grew easily bored, which made Wolflock and Mothy's mischievous antics all the more entertaining. Every night, they snuck out to go and watch the stars from the crow's nest and tell stories about their lives. No one ever stopped them on their nightly venture, but they did take delight in waking them in the early hours. The boys had also taken a set of drying white sheets and ran around the deck pretending to be ghosts. They had run around trying to startle the other passengers until they crashed into each other. Captain Blutro and Slavitus had lectured them on how it was bad form to talk about the dead on a ship, especially for fun. They tried to teach a Maramuti to steal people's underwear from the drying line and then put them on, but they could only manage the first part. Ever since they saw the brigade of fairies migrating south, the Maramuti had been regular residents of the ship. The cheeky, monkey-like creatures often used the rigging as a jungle gym and shocked passengers by ogling them through the windows first thing in the morning with their bulging eyes and pug-like faces. They seemed to enjoy listening to music and trying to dance along with the passengers, often slapping their broad, flat tails on the deck or railing. Groger had been so shocked to see a Maramuti racing about the deck with a pair of his floral shorts flapping about for everyone to see that the captain issued a ship-wide lockdown on all loose possessions. All doors were to be shut and locked, and all crates to be fastened to discourage any playful theft. Another time, Wolflock and Mothy had taken 2 planks of wood, tied them to their feet, and skied behind the ship until they lost the planks. Wolflock protested that it had been a fish that caused him to get soaked and lose the wood. So naturally, the boys made a huge show of looking for the wood-stealing fish monster to try and stay out of trouble. It didn't work. They had also tied themselves to one of the crossbeams on the sails and flew around the ship. When they realized that no one could reach them and that the crew were too busy to get them down, they started shouting obscenities to the raucous laughter of the passengers passing by. It wasn't the shouting of, "Grogan's running Skyclad on the deck again," or "Frederick's flipper feet," that got them in trouble. It was when they swung too hard at the same time and the sails turned, steering the ship towards the bank for a good frightening minute. The crew scrambled to attention, and both boys were removed from the sail and given a stern talking to. They had been made to swab the whole deck for the rest of the day and peel vegetables for dinner. Although he bemoaned his fate, Wolflock entertained himself by turning the mopping into a synchronized dance with Mothy, mirroring his movements from across the ship and freezing whenever anyone looked their way. When he got near enough, Wolflock splashed him with the wet mop, and they chased each other around the deck, slipping and sliding on the fresh wood as they brandished their mops like swords. While peeling potatoes, turnips and beets, Wolflock and Mothy shared their stories with the crew and passengers about the animals they saw on the banks that day. Deer, Maramuti, squirrels and birds, even a bear. Both of them swore that they even saw a great stone creature wander off into the forest just beyond the tree line. They never seemed to run out of topics to talk about. The Maramuti had also become regular inhabitants on the ship, dropping tutti fruit and trying to exchange it for other items. The sweet, vibrant green and pink tutti fruit had become a staple part of their diet. Una had taught Grogan, Mothy and Wolflock how to prepare the fruit in a variety of different ways, but the flavours became too strong and persistent for Wolflock's taste. He had grown up with enough variety of food to be a picky eater and did not share the same propensity for sweet foods as his sister or Mothy. The memories of the past few days danced through his dreams as Wolflock slept soundly in his cabin. It wasn't until an icy breeze cut across his face that he woke with a frown. Blinking slowly awake, he sat up and looked at his porthole window. One of the Maramuti, with its great big brown eyes and flat squashed face, was watching him carefully as it laid his hand by his hair comb. "Shoo," he groaned and waved the creature away. "You can't have my comb. I'll be off with you." He tried to reach for the window to latch it, but as he did, he heard voices from directly above his room. "Are you sure you won't stay until breakfast?" Captain Bluetree asked with a gentle tone. "I'm sure everyone would love to see you off." "We cannot," Ungle responded, her deep voice melodic and resigned. "If we do not leave at Ibuhulo Yomthi, we will miss our transport back home. Thank you for the offer." "Please let Mothy know. We wanted to stay and say a proper goodbye, but we could not bear to see him cry." Una sniffled. I'll let him know." Wolflock's gut dropped. "Wait!" he shouted and poked his head out of the window. The noise brought them all over to the railing, looking down on him in surprise. "Don't go! I'll be right up!" He threw his monogrammed dressing gown and matching slippers on and flung himself into Mothy's room. His friend was in one of his usual sleeping positions, belly down, with one hand up the wall and one leg trying to reach the wall on the opposite side of the room. Wolflock flicked his ear, and the blonde boy went into spider-like convulsions, arms and legs twitching and flailing about spastically. "What you do that for?" he grumbled and rubbed his eyes, picking himself off the floor. "You know, I never get tired of seeing you wake up. The process is fascinating and invigorating at the same time." "Glad you feel energized." Mothy yawned and tried to crawl back into bed. "Wait, no you don't. The Blicklin sisters are leaving soon, and they want to see you before they go, he said as he grabbed Mothy's foot. "What?" Mothy blinked as his mind slowly began engaging. "I have to give them something. They haven't left it, have they?" "Not yet, but we don't have long." Wolflock yanked him by the arm into the hall. Mothy grabbed his bag, adding even more weight Wolflock had to drag up the stairs. They emerged in the brisk morning, the fresh tinge of pine needles in the air. "I must insist you let me stop for at least an hour," Captain Bluetrue was protesting. "We will not be responsible for everyone else being late to their destination." Ungol frowned and folded her arms defiantly. "Our agreement was that we would leave without you stopping. I will not incur a debt because we surrendered to sentiment." "Ungol, Una," Mothy called out, "I have something for you." "Oh, Mothy," Una sighed and hugged him tightly. "I'm so glad we got to see you before we left." Captain Bluetrue and Ungol stood with their mouths open at the boy's sudden appearance. "How did you wake him?" Ungol's face broke into an amazed smile. Wolflock puffed out his chest proudly. "I have my ways." "You flicked his ear." Una rolled her eyes to Mothy. "He flicked my ear." The ladies chuckled as Wolflock deflated. "These are both for you. Please keep them safe. They're meant to keep our hearts connected so that if we are ever near each other's path again, we can wish each other a merry meet," Mothy said as he held out two small wooden rabbits with a glittering white and pink opal in their chests. "Mothy, this is beautiful. Thank you," Ungol breathed. "Oh, you precious, precious boy." Una wept and flung her arms around him again. "May your forest always guide you to abundance." Wolflock smiled and looked ahead of them for the bridge they were meant to leave from. Amongst the smaller maple and pine trees along the bank, one of the strangest trees Wolflock had ever seen towered over them. It stood over 150 feet high, and at a distance it looked like an oak, but as they drew nearer he saw tendrils dripping from it like green curtain. "Ubahulo Yomthi." Ungol stood with pride. "The bridge tree." "What is it?" Wolflock scanned with great interest. "They said two lovers, hundreds of years ago, loved each other from opposite sides of the bank, but they could not cross because the flighty river god Houl also loves a woman. He would destroy any ship they boarded. The man grew an oak tree, but Howl's storm smashed it. The oak tree grew back, and the woman grew a willow tree on the other side to try and join it to the oak tree. One day, they finally met on that bridge. Howl so enraged that he tore up the willow tree, but the magic of their love was too strong. The great oak and willow clung to each other, and the oak drew the willow to its side. Once united, the trees wove together, making each other strong enough to continue to be a bridge for those who need it." "But it only reaches halfway," Wolflock frowned. "That's because when you want help, you need to reach the other half of the way," Una chuckled. The sisters hugged Wolflock and Mothy one last time. "Quevomelo Yakul, Inatolo Wolo, Isiteka Naeso," Ungol hummed as she hugged Mothy. "May your arrows always strike true." Wolflock stood back and saw her silver tattoos glow, flowing out from her chest and stretching out down her left arm to her palm. As she drew away, she left a glowing handprint on Mothy's shirt that soaked into him. Wolflock raised an eyebrow and smirked, catching Ungol's eye. "A blessing?" "And you too, Mr. Mischief. Thank you for your apology." Wolflock felt his chest crushed against her rock-hard muscles, and her hand wrapped around the base of his skull. "Umelo Yako, Amalo Roho Boyano Nianeso." The tingling warmth spread over the base of his head, through his hair. "What does that mean?" he asked as he drew away. Without another word, both women scaled the rigging and took hold of the dangling vines. Wolflock ran to the starboard side of the ship and called out again as several Maramuti scattered from the women climbing onto the platform above. They waved back as the ship carried on away from them. "What does that mean?" he called out again, but no answer echoed back. End of chapter 1. Thank you all for coming.
Well,
I hope you enjoy
Thank
your
you.
prizes. And I will see you in the near future.
Absolutely.